You might want to ask if she's here
Sure.
one more
Elise, are you
time.
here with us today?
There's a message in the chat. This is Scott. If you look in the chat, there's a message there.
Oh, I'm so sorry I missed that. Yes. Elise
Oh,
is
yeah.
here, but she's having issues with her mic, so she is present here with us today in today's meeting. Great.
Thank you so much, Kyla. We will move on to the chair's report and summary of events. We do have a lot to cover today, but I am excited to hear from our interim executive director, who will be giving us a report. It's my understanding that ACDHH has been extremely busy the last couple of months at several community outreach events, including the Northern Arizona Expo in Flagstaff. I'm looking forward to hearing more about that in the interim director's report. We will be talking tonight about the executive director search, and we will be providing some updates later and also talking about some interpreter complaints that we have on the agenda. In the meantime, I will kick things off by turning it over to Nikki, who will provide us with her interim director, executive director report. Nikki Sukup, the floor is all yours. Thank you, Madam Chair. Hello and good evening, Chair and Commissioners. I'm grateful for the opportunity to speak with you tonight and share some updates on what we've been up to for the last couple of months. Now, as we are looking forward to our transition, we have been focusing on our strategic plan. And I want to recognize and thank the team at ACDHH for their incredible contributions, for the amazing work that they do. Every single one of your jobs, your roles, the things that you do are so important, and I want to thank you. And I also want to say thank you to the board members for your hard work with community members. And I want to thank you for your leadership and your contributions to the board. So I want to recognize that and say that I appreciate all of your hard work, and it's valued. As we're going through this transition, we have been working together to collaborate amongst teams here at the commission in order to support each other. We do have an open door policy. We value transparency and open communication. And as our board chair, Commissioner Cienko, mentioned, we have been extremely busy as we've been participating in community events. I want to first mention one of the most significant events that we hosted this year was the Deaf Blind Day at the Capitol. We had deaf-blind members from Phoenix and Tucson gather at the Capitol in order to meet their legislators. Deaf-blind individuals had the opportunity to speak with their legislators and share any concerns that they had when it comes to SSP funding and a potential increase in the SSP funding. And the legislators realized in those one-on-one meetings, and then also recognized while the deafblind members were in the gallery, the importance of those community members. And so we look forward to more partnerships there. Speaking of the SSP funding, I have been working with the governor's office and the legislature. I will say I'm optimistic that the additional funding will be included in this year's budget package. We don't have that confirmation yet, but I am feeling optimistic. We also continue to expand our involvement in community events statewide. As it was mentioned, we went to the Northern Arizona Deaf Expo, which was in Flagstaff. It was a wonderful opportunity to network with different members of the community. And while we were there, we provided a training to the staff at the Lowell Observatory on best practices when working with people who are deaf, hard of hearing, and deaf-blind. We look forward to going back there again this summer. In the area of public safety, that has been a big priority for us as of late. We hosted another fire alarm walk in Surprise, and we were able to install nearly 40 fire alarms in homes. We've had previous events in Prescott, and we're hoping to have an upcoming event in Tucson and other areas. We've also been working with the Phoenix Police Chief of Police Cross Disability Advisory Board. We are working with a detective who leads this specific board. And ACDHH has created visor cards, both for the hard of hearing and deaf communities, to be used in the event of a police interaction. And that visor card provides tips on how to best communicate with and interact with community members as they interact with police. And those visor cards are available in the Phoenix area. We continue to focus on our Age of Access program or initiative, where we are working with seniors to ensure that senior communities have the resources that they need, and to also ensure that the Arizona Caregiver Coalition has the resources that they need. We have a new partnership with the Alzheimer's Association of Arizona, where we are providing an online monthly support group for individuals who are caregivers. We continue to provide our hearing healthcare assistance project through the universities, and we also have the Early Hearing Detection and Intervention project that we continue to be a part of as we collaborate with different community partners. Another project that we're excited to mention tonight is the Interpreter Launchpad program. This is a program that provides novice interpreters with interpreting experience. And the goal of the program is to grow the interpreter pipeline in Arizona so we have more working interpreters. This will be an annual 6-month apprenticeship program where apprentices will be provided with hands-on experience in volunteer settings and also while being supervised. And the individuals, the deaf individuals who are using these apprentices to get interpretation will be able to provide feedback to them. The apprentices will have provisional licenses. They can get paid. And ACDHH will pay for their interpreting certification exams upon completion of the program. We received fantastic interest in the program and got 52 applications. Unfortunately, we were only able to pick 13 mentors and 13 apprentices. Training for the program will begin in June, and then the apprentices will start working July 1st. So you will be seeing those apprentices out working in the community. We do have some new marketing materials that are in development. Our website will be changing from .org to .gov. As we move over to a state platform, we will be getting that .gov URL. And that will be in alignment with the state branding guidelines that are rolling out. So we are now talking things over amongst the team members and the staff member to talk about our upcoming branding, talking about the colors that we may pick, and we will be talking about that at upcoming board meetings. Internally, our HR and finance systems departments have been working closely with a new platform. There is always ongoing work there as we onboard new platforms statewide, and we'll be onboarding this new one June 4th. And we look forward to that. And I could keep going. There's been so much happening, but that wraps up my report for today. And I'm happy to answer any questions. This is Board Chair Cienko. Does anyone have any questions for Nikki? Seeing and hearing none, I want to thank you for sharing your report with us, Nikki. We really appreciate it. And I overlooked something on our agenda, the approval of the last meeting's minutes. To be fair, I've had a crazy day at work, and I feel like I'm just hanging on by a thread here. So I will take the onus for that omission. But I would like to go back to that agenda item to approve the April 17th, 2025 meeting minutes, and I will take a motion to approve those minutes.
This is Commissioner Goodstein. I move that we approve those minutes.
I would like to recognize Commissioner Goodstein has a motion on the floor
Commissioner
to
Kidd, I
approve
second.
those minutes. We have a second from Commissioner Kidd. Thank you so much, and thank you everyone for your patience. We'll move on to the annual report. Nikki, I believe you wanted to comment and you had something to say about the annual report. Yes, board members have received the annual board report for the 2024 year. That board report was drafted by Commissioner Cienko and submitted to the governor's office. We submit this to the governor and the legislature annually. I hope you've had the opportunity to review this report, and I am hoping to get a motion to approve this so we can then submit it. This is Board Chair Cienko. For those of you who have had the opportunity to review the report, now would be a great time to open things up for discussion. Seeing none, we can move on to a motion to accept the report as written in order to submit it to the governor's office.
Commissioner Kidd, I move that we approve the annual report and submit it to the governors and state legislation.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor from Commissioner Kidd. I see that Commissioner Herron, you have your hand up. Why don't you go ahead?
No, I wanted to second his motion.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much for that clarification. We have a second from Commissioner Herron. Do we have any opposition? Seeing none, motion carries. We will now move on to the public comment section of the agenda, if I can sign that correctly tonight. To maintain transparency with board members and individuals who may be watching the live stream, we did receive 3 public comments. However, we will not be taking those public comments at this time, and let me give you a heads up as to why. There is a cutoff date and time to submit public comments. Those public comments are due to us by Tuesday, May 13th at 2 p.m. The 3 public comments we received were submitted after 2 p.m. on that date. For those of you who have submitted public comments, please know that you are more than welcome at any time to submit your thoughts, and we can address those thoughts and comments at the next meeting. I would like to now jump down a bit in our agenda to go over the interpreter complaints, to get that out of the way, and then we can talk about the executive director search. So I'm going to now move to the interpreter complaints that we have, and there are 3 on the agenda tonight. Victoria, I would love it if you could come on camera and start us out with April Maldonado's complaint. Thank you.
Evening. All right. Just want to make sure that my audio is good for the interpreters. It looks like we're okay. All right. So this complaint for interpreter April Maldonado is a continuation from our last board meeting. To freshen everyone's memory, the commissioners wanted to see if there were any, was there any feedback from any of the other deaf employees that work at UPS that were recipients of April Maldonado's interpreting services while working there. So I did try to contact the other deaf employee that was named in the complaint. Still could not get an answer or reply from them. However, a supervisor, Tracy O'Neill, who works at UPS, was able to get in contact with her to ask her some questions to get some feedback or some more information about others' perspective beside Mr. Craig's perspective on the interpreting that was happening at UPS. So I did put that interview in the board doc on the website, excuse me, the portal. and it should be titled Update Interview. So if everyone wants to look at that, and let me know if you have any questions on that. But in summary, that interview, I did find out that Ms. Tracy O'Neill was present during one of the specific times when April interpreted for Mr. Craig, and he was upset at the quality of the interpreting and the conflict of interest, the perceived conflict of interest that was occurring with her being an employee at UPS and being his interpreter. I did ask her about other deaf employees coming to her to complain about, again, April Maldonado's interpreting services. So her answer was, no, not to her knowledge, there were not any other complaints, but she said it was unlikely that they would come to her if anyone else besides Mr. Craig had a complaint. They would most likely come to him because he's been an employee there the longest. And it would be more comfortable for them to go to someone who knows their language, their culture. They probably wouldn't go to her, is what her statement was. She didn't have any doubt that if there were complaints, they would have gone to Mr. Craig, but herself receiving the complaint, she said she had not. And then she went into description about the altercation, as she calls it, the small altercation, when Mr. Craig expressed his feelings about April Maldonado interpreting for him, how it was a conflict of interest. He did not want any parts of it. And Ms. O'Neill's feedback was, even though she's not fluent in sign language, she could tell based on her interactions with other interpreters that are hired to come to UPS, the way that Ms. Maldonado was interacting with Mr. Craig was not professional, and it made a scene. So those were just some of the highlights. Again, the full report is in the portal for the commissioners, and I'm here if you have any questions. The recommendation stands based on this new information. That's just my recommendation. If anyone would like to deviate from that, again, that is your choice. So let me know if you have any questions.
Thank you, Victoria. Board members, any questions? First, I see Commissioner Scarborough and then Commissioner Herron. We'll start with Commissioner Scarborough.
Thank you. I do agree with the commission recommendation, and I think that we should emphasize what type of training. If we just say ethical training in general, that's not sufficient. We should speak, it should be about power, privilege, and oppression because that's what the situation pertains to. Thank you.
I have to agree with you, Commissioner Scarborough. Um, we're going to go to Commissioner Herron and then to you, Commissioner Goodstein. So we need to give our interpreters just a moment to get set up before comment. Commissioner Herron.
Okay. So I did table this, I believe, but I wanted to understand the situation a bit better. I wanted to have an opportunity to read all of the information, and thank you for the follow-up, Victoria. I was able to read more into this. I do have a few questions that might help me understand a bit better. So the interpreter was an employee of that company. And then the company, right or wrong, either way, that's not the point of discussion. But the point is that the employer pulled in this person who did agree then to interpret as other duties as assigned per se, and maybe like their in-house interpreter. So I was wondering, as far as licensure, does licensure cover an employee who is pulled to do that as other duties as assigned? Or should we be providing advice or counsel to that company, letting them know that they need to hire a qualified interpreter, or if they use an in-house interpreter, they need to properly use them as licensed. So I feel a bit perplexed in how to handle this situation via an employee versus an interpreter, an outside interpreter coming in. How do we handle this situation? Do we push back on the employer or do we discipline the interpreter? I do understand the deaf person is frustrated. My heart goes out to that person. But I do feel the company was insensitive to that employee. So that's kind of where I stand at this point.
Thank you, Commissioner Herron. We'll go to you now, Commissioner Goodstein.
I have a question. Could you please summarize again what that recommendation, the commission's recommendation, was for all of us? What did you guys recommend? Did my
This is Victoria. Are you asking about what Commissioner Scarborough just recommended, or the investigator's recommendation?
what did the committee that made the recommendation about the interpreter, the consequences? I didn't have a chance to read before the meeting. I apologize, but I'm just, what exactly are we referencing to? What was the recommendation that you guys are discussing?
And this is Commissioner Cienko. I want to make sure that I'm understanding what you're asking for. Are you asking what the investigator's recommendation was?
That's correct.
Okay, just wanted to make sure. Victoria, could you then just repeat what the recommendation was?
Sure. So the recommendation for this particular complaint was for the interpreter to complete 5 clock hours of ethics workshops within a 60-day period. And then Commissioner Scarborough added in to make it specific, those ethics to be power, privilege, and oppression related. So that's the last thing.
This is Commissioner Goodstein. Okay, so my comment is I believe that it would be that the responsibility would lie, I guess, within the agency or the employer that's providing the service more so than the interpreter who was called to perform a service within their place of employment. Uh, I feel uncomfortable with that recommendation because when a client needs an interpreter, the employer should respect that request. And that individual has been complaining that they do not want that specific interpreter because there's a conflict of interest. So, therefore, the employer should be respecting the client's request and therefore finding an appropriate interpreter. As for other employees that have not filed complaints about that interpreter, I believe that's irrelevant to this point because it's an individual item. So if one specific individual does not has concerns about an interpreter, that should be enough. We should then get another interpreter as an employer. So from my understanding of what the law says, let's look at the client's request and therefore put it on the employer. So perhaps we should provide a list of what the current regulations are for providing interpreters to clients. And I believe that the repercussions should be more on the employer rather than the employee who was hired or perhaps volunteered to provide a service.
Thank you, Commissioner Goodstein. I understand where you are coming from. I want to mention that we have two more commissioners who would like to make a comment. Um, we are in this section of the meeting focusing only on the interpreter and their behavior. I know that the waters can get kind of muddied when we are involving a company such as FedEx or a company such as Amazon when they have their business practices to consider, which is unfortunate. The best thing that the investigator came up with for this situation would be to provide information and resources like the EEOC, Disability Rights Arizona. That way, the company can handle what they're doing and they can get their practices in alignment. But tonight, we're just focusing on the interpreters. So I appreciate your comments, and I want to remind the community members and to remind everyone who's watching why this is such an important thing, why we want our community members to have full access. Now, Victoria, I want to make sure. Okay, so let's say commissioners disagree with your recommendation. We can still go with whatever we think is best as a board, right? Okay, so I want to remind everyone also that we have our AAG, Elise Phelan, here with us this evening. So if we want legal advice, we have that opportunity available to us as well. Just wanted everyone to know. I will turn it over to you now, Commissioner Bolmarsich, and then we'll go to Commissioner Swenson. Commissioner Bolmarsich, the floor is all yours.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is Commissioner Bomarsich. First of all, I wanted to agree with your comments, Madam Chair, about where our jurisdiction lies. It does not, unfortunately, lie with the company. But I also wanted to follow up on what Commissioner Scarborough said. I agree with her that the training should be very targeted. In this case, not sort of general ethics, but also resources, not for the client, not just for the client, but for the interpreter when this kind of thing happens. They can make an EEOC complaint, they have whistleblower protection under the ADA. So it should be about conflicts of interest and avoiding them, and also about the legal recourses that they can use to protect themselves as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Bolmarsich. Excellent point. Thank you so much. We'll turn it over to Commissioner Swenson now.
Hey, thank you. This is Commissioner Swenson. I did have a question. It seems from the update that it was not something that was happening during her regular work hours. So she had been offered the job essentially as an interpreter. Is that correct? And the client had voiced previously that they did not want that interpreter interpreting for them.
Yes, to both points. I haven't been able to confirm because one point of that is that Mr. Craig says that April was getting paid via an interpreting agency for that job. I haven't been able to confirm that point, but she was not on the clock for part of the training when she was interpreting for Mr. Craig. So yes.
Okay, based upon that, I would agree with Commissioner Bolmarstich as well as Commissioner Scarborough about definitely there being some ethical training and targeted as well.
Thank you, Commissioner Swenson. I will now close things for discussion, and I will entertain a motion based on Victoria's recommendations, or you can make a motion based on the others who mentioned additional training. Oh, I see lots of hands going up.
Sarah can go ahead.
Let's go to Commissioner Bolmarsich.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is Commissioner Bomarsich. I move that in this case, the penalty be as recommended by our investigator, with the proviso that the training be targeted to conflicts of interest and to the legal resources available to both client and interpreter. Will that work?
I see Commissioner Herron. Did you want to make a comment?
I wanted to say I would like to second Commissioner Bolmarchik's. That was a perfect motion.
Fantastic. All right. And thank you. I want to recognize that we have a motion on the floor from Commissioner Bolmarsich to follow the investigator's recommendations plus that specific training. We have a second from Commissioner Herron. Motion carries. Our next complaint is against Delynn Saunders. Before we get into that complaint, I want to mention that Delynn Saunders was one of those individuals who submitted a late public comment request. I would like Victoria to give us a summary of the complaint, and then we can then table things. But for now, I think we should at least hear the summary.
Sure. Okay. So this particular issue is related to a renewal for Delynn Saunders. So
and I'm sorry, Victoria. I see Commissioner Scarborough has a hand up.
I did want to clarify, do we need to vote on the previous motion that was on the floor?
No, but we can either table things completely, we can hear the complaint, give us time to think things over. I want to see what the board would like to hear as far as this complaint. Or am I not getting you right?
I'm referring to the last complaint against April Maldonado.
Oh, we're done
So
with
there
that
was a
one.
motion and a second, and then there was no vote.
Do you think we need to do a roll call vote?
I just know that we typically do vote on
Sorry,
the motions. So
I'm a little confused. Do you want to go back to that?
it usually doesn't pass with just two people. There was a motion and a second, and then no vote, and the motion carried, but there was no vote.
Okay, yeah, we had a motion and a second. Would you like us to do a roll call?
I'm not a parliamentarian, but I do believe I do participate in board meetings. I believe that's required.
And this is Commissioner Goodstein. Commissioner Scarborough is correct. There was a motion and a second, and therefore it doesn't pass. We should ask for any objections, and then at that point we would call for a vote. But of course, it is up to you. But I believe Commissioner Scarborough is correct. We should be doing a vote on that previous motion.
Okay, why don't we go back then?
I mean, we don't have to do roll call. We could just do a vote.
No, I want to say thank you. I appreciate your help with the process. So let's go back to the complaint against April Maldonado. We had a motion from Commissioner Bolmarsich with a second from Commissioner Herron. Any opposition? Seeing and hearing none, I'm just making sure there are no last minute objections. All right, motion carries. Commissioner Scarborough, thank you so much for catching that. I appreciate it. Now let's hear the complaint against Delynn Saunders.
Okay, perfect.
And thank you everyone for your patience. Thank you, Victoria.
No problem. Okay, so this is related to the renewal process. So currently, Delynn Saunders is in the legal D category, licensure category. She has been in that category for my system just crashed since early 2000s. I don't have it in front of me now, but what the issue is that according to the rules, every when the certification cycle from the certifying body reaches its end, ACDHH requires you to show proof that you've taken 20 hours of legal themed workshops within that 4-year cycle, 5-year cycle, depending on your certifying body. We've come across the issue where this requirement was not met by Delynn Saunders. So according to the rules, we bring that matter to the board to determine next steps because that's identified in the rules as unprofessional conduct. That explanation is high level. Again, we can get into the weeds of it when we bring it up on the next agenda because Delynn does have comments related to this that gives us more context to this situation. So, but that's high level. But we do have more information about that, which like you talked about, we'll put that on the next agenda.
Thank you, Victoria. And like I said earlier, and like Victoria mentioned, Delynn was one of those individuals who submitted a late public comment.
And this is Commissioner Goodstein. I move that we table this item to the next meeting, or what would be the best, whatever would be the best time to properly discuss this one. I do believe that we should have Delynn's comments present.
Thank you, Commissioner Goodstein. I was not quite done with my comments. I was just trying to say that Delynn was one of the individuals who submitted a late public comment for tonight's board meeting, and I want her to have the opportunity to make her public comment. I think it's important that we remain consistent with the timeline and the time cutoff for the submission of public comments. We will not be taking action. We will not be voting on this complaint tonight. We would, as Commissioner Goodstein mentioned, we want her to be able to share her side of the story. And we have a motion on the floor from Commissioner Goodstein to table this to the next meeting, and I'll entertain a second. Commissioner Herron, do you second?
I second.
Fantastic. Any opposed? Seeing and hearing no opposition, the motion carries. Thank you, everyone. Our third and final interpreter complaint is against Whitney Wyrick. Victoria?
Thank you. So this complaint is related to the requirement in the rules for interpreters if their certification from the certifying body is revoked, suspended, any other status than active, they are to let the commission know immediately. That was not done in relation to Dr. Wyrick's Arizona general license. her certification was suspended in the summer of 2023. The commission was notified when we saw this question answered on her renewal application in 2024. And I apologize, I have that date wrong on the report there, but it was 2024 when the commission was notified. The recommendation for this particular situation, because Dr. Wyrick did not work as a community interpreter, she was employed elsewhere, so was not working in the community, was not working as an interpreter. And according to her statement here, I'll just read it verbatim. I experienced significant financial hardship and was unable to pay my RID membership on time. Therefore, RID suspended my certification starting August 1st, 2023. Prior to that, I had been nationally certified since 2010 with no issues or complaints, and have had a consistent track record of meeting all CEU requirements as well. I am genuinely shocked to learn that RID's policy basically allows them to cancel interpreters for not paying membership dues on time and treats them the same as interpreters with ethical violations or complaints, both of which I do not have. I also did not realize I needed to inform ACDHH and apologize for the oversight. I did not do any paid interpreting work during this time. And this is a problematic policy that reduces the number of qualified interpreters in the community, and as such hurts the deaf community. My certification was reinstated in January of 2024. So based on the circumstances, based on the fact that Dr. Wyrick was not interpreting, the investigator's recommendation is to dismiss this complaint. Let me know if you have any questions.
Thank you, Victoria. Commissioners, do you have any questions for Victoria? Commissioner Herron.
Wow, this camera is not working today. Okay, so my first question that I have for Victoria, is that your name sign?
Like
This
this?
is it.
Okay, like that. Okay. So is this the first offense and the first time that you have not been notified?
For this interpreter, yes.
Okay. Okay. So I would move that we accept the recommendation to dismiss. And what else did you recommend? I was looking at your notes. Is that it? Just to dismiss it, correct?
Yes, that was my recommendation, just to dismiss. Again, I highlight the other ones because dismiss is just my recommendation. You have all those other options, but yes, my recommendation is to dismiss, period.
Okay, and I do agree with that. I think, there was a tough time at that point. She was getting caught up, so I agree to dismiss that. Of course, if this was a reoccurrence, that would be a different story. So I would like to move that we accept and adopt the recommendation from the commission.
We have a motion on the floor from Commissioner Herron to dismiss the complaint with a second from Commissioner Kidd. Thank you. Anyone in opposition? I am seeing and hearing no opposition, so the motion passes. Thank you, Victoria. I appreciate you taking the time to provide us with those summaries. Before we let you go, I do have a question for you now. How many interpreter complaints do we have in the backlog?
So we currently have 18 complaints pending.
18. Okay. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thanks. Commissioner Herron?
Okay. So we have 18 outstanding from cumulative, or is that more recent? How long have those complaints been in waiting?
Now, before we go down that rabbit hole, I will say that this was not on the agenda. It was more of a question out of curiosity. Um, but we may need to
Yes.
have a special board meeting to get caught up with these complaints.
Yeah, that was one of my concerns.
That was just my question. How many we had remaining? Victoria, are you able to answer Commissioner Herron's question? It's just more of a curiosity.
Sure. Let me take a quick look. Hold on 2 seconds. So for this year, I'm sorry, it's not 18, it's 19 because I just received one yesterday. So I have 5 from 2025, and then the rest of them are from 2024. Mhm.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. So I do think that's where we do need to have a discussion to get these caught up. Maybe we need to have a meeting, and of course, I'll leave that to you, Madam Chair, to work that out. I hope we can get those taken care of and get those more timely, get those caught up.
Definitely. And I'll be working with Kyla to ensure that that happens. Thank you, everyone. The next item on the agenda is the Executive Director Search Process Committee selection. Before we move on to that agenda item, I would like to take a 10-minute break to give our interpreters and our cart provider a bit of a break before we get into the heavy discussion. Is everyone okay with us taking a 10-minute break at this point? Mr. Thompson, you second that, or are you making a
I have
comment?
to leave class.
Okay, okay. Do you need to log off soon?
Nah,
Okay, let me check in with Kyla. Without Commissioner Thompson, do we still have quorum? We do. Okay. All right. Have fun in class, Commissioner Thompson. Thanks for being here.
thank you.
Okay. All right. I think we will move forward then with a 10-minute break. Let's be back at 5:40, please. Okay, it is now 5:40. Kyla, are we live? Are we not live? We're live. Okay. I guess everyone in Arizona just saw me flirt with my eyebrows with the interpreter. All right. I hope we at least made some of you laugh tonight. All right, we are back now. Kyla, can you give us a roll call just to make sure that we have everyone back here with us, make sure we still have quorum?
Commissioner Volmarsich, I'll come back to her. Commissioner Cohen, oh, perfect. Commissioner Cohen, he joined us in the later in the day.
You say Madsen or Cohen?
I didn't. I said I was asking for Cohen,
We're on Cohen.
but now I know that
Maybe
you're
come
here.
back to him.
That's perfect. Commissioner Goodstein,
Present.
I think I saw Commissioner Heron. Awesome.
Yes.
Okay. Commissioner
I
Kay?
was trying to jump in, but I'm here.
Perfect. And then Commissioner Madsen, we know is here. We've got Commissioner O'Rourke.
Here.
And Commissioner Scarborough.
Present.
Okay. Commissioner Swenson. And then
Present.
Commissioner Williams.
Sure.
Great. Okay. And Commissioner Cinco, you're here, so I think we're good.
I wasn't called, but I'm here. Venkatesh, Commissioner Venkatesh. You're on mute, Kyla.
I just want to make sure.
I am so sorry about that,
Also-
Commissioner Venkatesh. Thank you for joining us. And I guess I was muted, but we have recorded that you're here. I think the only
That's
one that we were
okay.
missing was Commissioner Cohen, who I'm seeing that he's here within Zoom still, but maybe he'll show up a little bit later.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Kyla. I think it's safe to say that everyone's ready for the weekend. All right. Now we will move on to the executive director search process and committee selection. I want to give you a little bit of a backstory. So for those of you who were on the personnel committee, feel free to jump in and help me out at any time. Last year, we had 4 members of the personnel committee. It was me, Commissioner Scarborough, Commissioner Williams, and Commissioner Cohen. The 4 of us worked together with ADOA, and we went through the process of searching for our next executive director. And we worked with ADOA to screen resumes, to identify candidates, and to interview the candidates. We decided on some final candidates and went for a second round of interviews, which included a meet and greet and presentation. Unfortunately, as many of you recall, we did not achieve our intended outcome in that process. The committee was provided with some feedback from some newer board members who joined at a later time. And one of those individuals recommended that we do interviews and identify candidates and then bring names back to the board to see if the board agrees with the Personnel Committee's decision. We are still searching for our new executive director, and currently we have an interim executive director, Nikki Sukup. And we are so grateful for her for being willing to step in at an important time to lead the agency in their interim. I would like you to take some time now to think about and process how you would like to do the executive director search. At the last meeting, we agreed to continue working with ADOA, and I have provided them with some feedback on how to expand our search. And I've provided them with some feedback on where to post the job description. I've been working with Brian over at ADOA, but I do want to see what the board would like to do once we have a list of candidates. So think about it. We can proceed with interviews. We could have town hall. We could have a meet and greet. This is your opportunity to get creative with the process. I do want to hand select board members to be a part of the process. For me, with the personnel committee, things didn't feel right at all times based on that name. So I think we should say that we're a search committee. We're looking for a talented, bright individual who be the face of the agency, who will lead the communities in Arizona, those who are deaf, hard of hearing, deaf blind, and have a combined vision and hearing loss. So I would like to open things up now for discussion. I see Commissioner O'Rourke. Do you have a comment?
No.
Okay, just a gentle reminder then, for anyone who is not actively speaking, please make sure that your microphone is muted. It can cause a bit of confusion for me or the interpreters as to know who's talking. All right, I see Commissioner Kidd.
This is Commissioner Kidd. First question before we begin this, how many members are we going to have on this personnel committee?
It was 4 last time.
I suggest we do an odd number instead of even. Either drop it to 3 or bump it up to 5. I'd rather bump it up to 5. So that way, if there's a tiebreaker, we have, or even though we have a tiebreaker to correct that.
Thank you, Commissioner Kidd. Commissioner Herron.
First of all, yes, I do agree. We would need to change the committee to search committee. It makes more sense. So if we are going to move forward in a friendly agreement, we could call it a search committee. We are searching, so that is a more accurate name. Second, in terms of procedure, what we want to do, I was wondering if we should just go ahead and decide on the committee makeup first, and then have the committee itself make recommendations as for the procedures instead of spending time discussing that here, because the committee can be focused on that process. Procedures like, do we do a town hall? Do we do a meet and greet? Do we do, first, second, third rounds of interviews? How to recruit, timelines, all of those relevant details. That's going to be a lot of work to organize. And so I think a simple discussion tonight would be in order to help make the decision of the committee, the formula, the makeup of the committee, and then they can handle the procedural stuff. And so we would form a search committee, and within the search committee, then they could appoint a chair amongst each other. They could come back with recommendations for how to actually carry out the search and the procedures and how to do the hiring.
Thank you, Commissioner Herron, for your feedback. I definitely agree that we should establish the search committee. Now, I do want to remind everyone that the committee needs to have a representative from each entity we represent, the deaf community, the hard of hearing community, the interpreting community. So that's an important thing to keep in mind as we're selecting members. So how do we want to do this? Commissioner Kidd.
This is Commissioner Kidd. I know you just mentioned something, but I had something I wanted to say that I didn't want to let slip.
Let's hear it.
So for new board members to join, an issue that we have is we all have almost no information from the previous discussions because we joined late. And so I would recommend that the new search committee has something that's accessible to the board to be able to review the information. So that way, if we have new board members join in the future, there's not a lot of issues because they join and then it's like, wait, what just happened? So just a comment I wanted to add. And then also for the recommendations, yes, I do agree that we need individuals that represent the various entities that ACDHH serves, the closed vision, hearing impaired, the deafblind, deaf, etc. How do we go about making those selections? Do we have individuals volunteer and then we figure that out, or do we, kind of force individuals into service? I'm just not sure how we approach this.
Okay, no, I understand what you're saying. So how we structured it last time, we were just moving forward with the members of the personnel committee, who was Jennifer Scarborough, who was an interpreter and represents ASDB. It was me as chair, Commissioner Cohen as a representative of the deaf-blind community, and Fred Williams as a representative of the hard of hearing community. That's how the previous members were appointed. But Commissioner Kidd, you made a very valid point. Do we nominate individuals? Do we ask individuals to volunteer for service? Commissioner Goodstein.
This is Commissioner Goodstein. I agree with what's been said thus far. I wanted to make a suggestion as a starting point. Maybe we could ask to see who was interested in being on the committee, go through those individuals, and if we have a great balance from that initial ask, great. If not, we can discuss on what we should do from there.
Thank you, Commissioner Goodstein. From what I'm hearing, it sounds like we should ask commissioners to see who's interested in serving on this search committee. If you are, please turn your camera on or say something so we can recognize you. I see Commissioner Herron.
I would be interested. I have a background in hiring, interviewing, recruiting, all of the relevant skills. So I do have a background in that, and I would be willing to serve on that.
Okay. We have interest from Commissioner Herron to represent the deaf community on the search committee. Thank you. And again, I want to remind everyone that we have a commission that represents the community. And so we want to make sure that we have representatives from each community in that search process. So let's go with Commissioner Mattson first, Commissioner Bolmarsich, and then Commissioner Kidd. Commissioner Mattson.
Thank you. This is Scott. What is the timeline that we're looking at? How long is Nikki going to be in her current position as in her interim director position?
That's a good question. That is actually the next item on the agenda.
Thanks.
Commissioner Bolmarsich?
Thank you, Chair Cienko. This is Commissioner Bomarsich. I just said I'm interested in serving as the hard of hearing representative. I have search committee experience at ASU. So
Thank you. Give me just a moment. I'm jotting down some notes here. Okay, and I saw Commissioner Kidd, you had your hand up.
Commissioner Kidd, I did. I would like to express my interest as a parent representative for the committee, for the search committee. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so at this point, we have interest from Commissioner Herron as a representative of the deaf community. We have Commissioner Bolmarsich as a representative of the hard of hearing community. We have Commissioner Kidd representing, not the deaf community, as the parent representative. Is there anyone who is an interpreter who is interested in serving? Your insight and input would be incredibly valuable. I'd like to recognize Commissioner Swenson.
Thank you. Yes, I would be interested. The only concern I have is sometimes my schedule is unpredictable with depending on what students have going on. So I don't know how reliable I would be, but I would be willing to serve.
Understood. And I'm sure that we could work something out. We have a wonderful executive assistant secretary, Kyla, who is a whiz when it comes to coordinating all of our crazy and hectic schedules. We do need someone to represent the deaf-blind community. I would like to ask Commissioner Cohen if he is interested in serving. Andrew, are you still around? Well, while we're waiting for Commissioner Cohen to make his grand appearance, Commissioner Goodstein, did you have something to say?
Just this is Commissioner Goodstein. I believe it would be great if we could have Commissioner Cohen to represent our deafblind community. If that is not possible, I would like to suggest that we have our chairperson, Commissioner Cienko, be the representative for the deafblind community because I think she does a great job of representing everybody.
Thank you. I do appreciate that. And I would be happy to take the lead on the committee. Our last round was definitely a learning experience, so I'd be happy to be a part of the committee again. I was also thinking that Virginia Thompson would be a good representative of the deaf, blind, and CVHL communities. Unfortunately, she had to leave to go to class, but I can follow up with her offline if everyone is okay with that. Commissioner Kidd, you say you are?
Yes, Commissioner Kidd, I think that's all right.
Okay. And I will also ask the board if it's all right if I follow up with Commissioner Andrew Cohen, who is apparently unresponsive. Maybe he got pulled away to help out his kid, his daughter. So far, the makeup of the committee would be me, Chairperson Cienko, and I represent DES, but I also represent everyone, as Commissioner Goodstein said. We'd have Commissioner Herron representing the deaf community, Commissioner Bolmarsich representing the hard of hearing community, Commissioner Kidd as a parent rep, and Commissioner Swenson as our interpreter rep. And then either Commissioner Cohen or Virginia Thompson as the deaf-blind representative, and that makes 6 members of the committee, which is an even number. Do we have one more individual who would be willing to serve? I'm interested in hearing what Commissioner Bolmarsich has to say, and then we'll go to Commissioner Matson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is Commissioner Bomarsich. My suggestion would be if we do want an odd number on the committee, that someone, maybe you, as the chair of the committee, would be serving as non-voting ex officio. That would be one solution to the problem. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, yeah, thank you. Commissioner Madsen, you had your hand up. I'm interested in hearing what you have to say.
I did, yes. If there is an odd number, I would be willing to step in. And I do like Commissioner Bomarsich's suggestion, just being in a support role.
Yeah, I have to agree. If everyone is okay with that, then as chair, I will lead the search committee as a non-voting member, but as someone who kind of guides the committee. Does that sound good to everyone? We need to entertain a motion? No, I'm kidding.
I would like to clarify. So does that mean you don't need me to jump in? Okay, sounds good.
I don't believe so. If you would like to, you know what, as I'm reading through the list, we have deaf representative, we have a hard of hearing representative, a parent rep, deaf blind, interpreter representative. I think we have all communities covered. I do appreciate your willingness to participate.
No problem.
And before I say anything else, I would like to recognize Commissioner Herron.
Yeah, so do we need to include a staff representative as well?
That is a very good question.
I would like to have staff input.
Hmm.
Yeah, let's think about it. Yeah, we could add that in later if need be, but let's think about that.
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't think that's something we can do, but let me think on it. Let me mull it over for a couple of moments while we hear what Commissioner Scarborough has to say.
I would be in support of that idea, having staff participating, even though, even if it's not allowed, maybe they're not allowed to vote, but still participate or in a consultative role, giving input, what the staff vision might be, what that relevant information, because we didn't have that last time, but we all wanted it. We all wanted the input, so I think it would be very valuable.
Okay, and I do want everyone to know that I recognize 3 individuals who are waiting to make comments, but I'm thinking back to last fall. Back in November, we kind of did that where the final candidates met with staff. Can someone refresh my memory on that? Commissioner Bomarsic?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think you're thinking of, we were given a dossier of anonymous staff comments that former Director Collins sent around, and it included a survey. So I would say that thinking back to that document, that is why I would like a staff representative or a staff consultant on the committee, because there were a number of follow-up questions that I had that I couldn't ask. So I think it would be good for that. I know that at ASU that does happen, but this is, of course, we do have staff representatives, but of course this is a little different from ASU, but I would absolutely advocate for at least a non-voting representative. Thank you.
Okay, so Commissioner Bomarsic, I want to make sure I'm understanding your comment. I was trying to process your comment as you were saying it. So if we do move forward with a staff representative as a part of the committee, that individual would be a non-voting person. Is that what you're saying? I just want to make sure that I got you right.
I think that would be up to the committee or the commission as a whole. I am a little concerned that we might be getting a little unwieldy now. So we might want to think about that as well.
Yeah. I know what you mean. So again, let me mull things over. I have some good food for thought. So I would like to give others the opportunity to make a comment. I don't even know where to begin. I wasn't paying attention to the list as hands were raised. Let's start with Commissioner Goodstein, then Commissioner Kidd, Commissioner Herron, and then Commissioner Mattson. We will go in that order, and we will begin with Commissioner Goodstein. Also, just one moment, Commissioner Goodstein, if you don't mind. I would like to remind everyone when you when you raise your hand and then turn your camera on and then unraise your hand, it moves cameras around. So I want to give our interpreters just a moment to see things before you start giving your comments. So Commissioner Goodstein, thank you.
This is Commissioner Goodstein. My concern is if we have that committee too big, it becomes less efficient. We could set it in various ways, but I think what the most important part is that we have a process. After we have representatives, maybe five seem like a good number. And part of the process with the interviews, possibly we could have the stakeholders involved in those interviews, potentially individuals from the deaf community, the deaf-blind community, and then staff, employers from ACDHH. Perhaps they should be part of the interview process, and that could serve as a way to include input from the staff.
Thank you, Commissioner Goodstein. That's a really important point to consider as we're mentioning our stakeholders. I do want to remind you, though, that the makeup of the committee are essentially representatives of their communities and our stakeholders. But that is some more food for thought for the board members. And I need to have a conversation with ADOA about this. I don't get the feeling that they will be okay with outsiders being a part of the committee, serving on a panel, but that's not part of the agenda for tonight. Tonight, we're talking about the makeup of the committee, and once we have the committee formed, then we can start focusing on the logistics once the committee starts meeting. But thank you so much for your feedback. We'll now go to Commissioner Kidd.
This is Commissioner Kidd. I would also like to provide input that I agree we should have staff as part of the process on the committee, but not as voters, because I believe that could be a conflict of interest. But I do believe that we need someone within the system, and then simultaneously just emphasize that the individual that's going to be part of the process is not going to be able to apply for the position. I just believe that needs to be set up front. But yes, I believe it's imperative that we have staff involved in the process. And with that staff member being included, I think we have a good number. And I think that there's not going to be too many decision makers, because we have five, but then two non-voting, really. And so five actual voting members, which provides a good balance.
Thank you, Commissioner Kidd. Move to Commissioner Herron.
Yes, I know Scott actually did put his hand up before me, so I'll turn it over to Commissioner Madsen to go ahead.
Well, thank you, Commissioner Madsen.
Thank you, Commissioner Herron. Related to other comments as well, I do think it is important to consider, that the time in the search process that we've done before and the input that we've had previously from November until present time. It's passed in a blink of an eye, but we're in May right now, but it is important to include that, and the commission, would have that person, a non-voting person. It would be someone who represents the collective of the staff and understand the procedures.
Thank you, Commissioner Madsen. Appreciate your feedback. Now, Commissioner Herron.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair. So I am having second thoughts about staff being involved in the committee. I do want staff's input. I feel it's very, very critical to have that. But I do think that we could set up a space specifically for staff, for them to have that opportunity to voice their needs and who they would prefer. So I think we can work on that. But I am currently now concerned about the size of the committee. You're saying we have 6 at this point? Is that correct?
At this point, we have 6, including me as a non-voting member, so essentially 5 and 1.
Okay. So my opinion is that it is a bit large. It is really hard with scheduling. It's hard to get together and work together with that size of a group. Time is of the essence at this point, and we need to get things taken care of quite quickly. Now, we want people who are available for the next few months, quite frequently available, because we need to get this done by the end of the year. And understanding that the interim director, is there until the end of the year. So it's not something that we can afford to try to coordinate multiple schedules with folks that have limited schedules. So my thought is to reduce the size of the committee if possible and have an odd or an even number. I'm not really concerned about that. We just need to move forward with whoever is available on the fly so we can get this done as quickly as possible.
Thank you, Commissioner Herron. We will hear our final comment from Commissioner Scarborough.
Hello, thank you. I agree with Commissioner Herron. I think maybe the size of the committee has become a bit large. Uh, However, I also do want to mention that the staff input, you are right. I do think we have to be creative with how we are including staff. As we saw in our previous experience, the staff seem to have competing ideas themselves. So there are opportunities for input. There were opportunities for confidential input last time. And I think that is a good idea to continue something along those lines uh, before the actual interviews start. Because I do think that the information was helpful, but it was too late in the timeline. We were unable to use that information to influence how we asked our questions, what types of questions to ask, what the interview would be pertaining to, how it would that and that and how that impacts staff. So I do think it's valuable information to garner in advance and to come up with creative ways to have that confidentiality. I do trust the committee to come up with the how, but the important bit is the what. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Scarborough. While I still have you on, what happened last time, like I said, was definitely a learning experience for everyone. Executive Director Sherry Collins was with us for such a long time that this was just new territory for the board. And we tried our best. We did the best that we could. We learned some lessons last time around. And so I think that we can learn from our mistakes. And when I say mistakes, I don't look at them as failures. I look at them as opportunities for growth, opportunities for improvement. So I definitely appreciated and I'm thankful for having you on the committee last time. Your input was invaluable. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so based on what I'm hearing from everyone, at this point, we have a total of 6 individuals who are interested in serving on the search committee, with 5 being active voters and me being the 6th individual to help guide the process. I will entertain a motion to include those individuals on our search committee. That would be me as the lead without voting power. Commissioner Herron would represent the deaf community, with Commissioner Bolmarsich representing the hard of hearing community, Commissioner Kidd as our parent rep, Commissioner Swenson as our interpreter rep, and last but not least, we need to identify a representative for the deaf-blind community. And for that, I will be reaching out to Commissioner Thompson to see if she's interested. I don't know if Commissioner Cohen, you're still here. If you are, I'll take the opportunity now to ask you while you're online. Commissioner Cohen, are you here with us? Getting a response. Hope everything's all right with Commissioner Cohen. As I was saying, I will be reaching out to Commissioner Thompson to gauge her interest in serving on the committee as the deaf-blind representative. And I will, at this point, entertain a motion to include those individuals on our search committee. Commissioner Kidd?
This is Commissioner Kidd. I move that we select the named individuals as chair, Tina said, as our search committee.
We have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
A second?
We have a second from Commissioner Madsen. Any opposition? Seeing and hearing none, the motion passes. Thank you, everyone. I will be working with Kyla to figure out the logistics and the scheduling as we come up with some ideas. And so let's get creative with our search process. Thank you, everyone, for volunteering your time to be a part of the search committee. Next, we will move on to, well, first I just want to take a look at the agenda to make sure that I'm not skipping anything else. The next item on our agenda is the interim executive director. Nikki's special assignment runs until June 30th. Her special assignment can be extended another 6 months. This is a one-time extension. I would like to ask board members if you are okay with interim director Nikki Sukup extending her time. If so, I will ask ADOA to draft another letter to extend that special assignment. Do we have a motion? Commissioner Herron?
So I thought we had already voted on that on our last meeting. Let's see, one moment. I think I have notes on that. April 17th or 18th. Let's see here. Yeah, I remember making that motion.
You're right. April 17th feels like a lifetime ago.
That's okay. I will go ahead. I move that we do extend the current interim director, Nikki Sukup's contract for another term.
You could say to extend
Okay, the
the
special
assignment.
extension for 6 months.
Thank you. And Commissioner Kidd?
This is Commissioner Kidd. Before I second that, I want to clarify something. Is this 6 months and we are locked in at 6 months, or can we end it early if we are able to select a new executive director? Just wanted to clarify that point.
Okay, so as I mentioned, Nikki's current special assignment is only until June 30th, so she was given 6 months. She is qualified to serve another 6 months if we request that extension. If we are in that process where we're about to pick someone, then we will talk about the process of the transition.
Got it. Okay, well then I second that motion.
All right, we have a motion from Commissioner Herron, and then we have a second from Commissioner Kidd. Anyone in opposition? Seeing and hearing no one opposed, motion carries. Thank you. The next item on our agenda is the Age of Access Senior Community Program. I would like to open things up for discussion, but first, I would like to ask our interim director, Nikki Sukup, to please come on and give some information to the board. Hello, everyone. Thank you, Madam Chair. Our Age of Access program started in 2023. We received funding to create a website, to have community forums, and where we provided presentations. And the focus was the senior population and caregivers. We also contracted with Gallaudet University, who created a survey that went out to do a needs assessment of our Arizona seniors and older adults. We continue to work on this project. A report has been provided to you. This project is a work in progress. With that said, commissioners, if you have any ideas or if there is additional information that you are wanting to learn, please bring your questions to the board. If you have questions about older adults, this was mentioned at a previous board meeting, and so I hope that you have a better understanding of our program as we're working with older adults and caregivers in the state of Arizona.
Commissioner Herron, please go right ahead. This is Commissioner Herron. Thank you, Madam Chair. Okay. Nikki, I did review that report. I quite enjoyed it. I learned a lot of information from that report. There are a lot of decades, actually, a lot of things that have come into play, many things that were overdue that were taken care of. As I reviewed that, there was a space where I felt there was a gap. There was a lot of talk about auditory, and it wasn't a lot about communication. It said 1.8 million deaf and hard of hearing throughout Arizona, and then it stated 5,000 are deaf, in quotes. So, if we have a deaf person that doesn't use sign language to communicate, we could have a hard of hearing person who prefers to use sign language to communicate. So with that, I feel there are gaps within possibly the primary mode of communication or the primary preference of communication. Since I'm a patient of Mayo Clinic, I do understand Mayo and their rules and the like, and I have had some interesting experiences. I almost fell off a chair there, and they brought in a live interpreter, and I was perplexed because I had never really requested that. And it was quite awkward because I didn't want an interpreter at that time. Yes, I am a deaf person, but when I engage with my doctor one-on-one, I can communicate clearly. It became very awkward, and my doctor also felt awkward, and it was not something we had experienced throughout our relationship. Now, during COVID, I used VRI because of masks and things like that, but this experience was quite awkward. So I prefer it to state in my profile what I would prefer. I think it's quite, we need to make sure that we're not assuming. We need to make sure that they're asking every person if they would like an interpreter in person, VRI, or if they would just prefer to use speech reading. So I think communication should be primary. So we see a percentage of people that prefer to sign or others that prefer to use spoken English or written English.
Thank you so much for that recommendation. Did you see the difference between the responses from ASL users? We contracted with Purna Karshahar from Gallaudet
Yes.
University. Yeah, we love Purna. She's great. She is a wonderful leader in the healthcare research community. And Sherry was a part of this as well. Porna created the survey that went out, and the survey asked questions about language use. Interestingly, for you can see the different responses for spoken language and ASL users. There you may not have the version that includes the information that I'm talking about.
Oh,
Um,
likely.
I may need to provide that to you, but it's good for me to remember that we need to create visuals based on the Gallaudet University report that we contracted out. Some of the information um, is in alignment with other studies, and so that might be the information that you're talking about, Commissioner Herron. But the Gallaudet University report went into detail showing the
Oh,
differences
okay.
between the communities. Regardless of hearing level, it was about communication modality, whether someone used spoken English to communicate or
Great.
signed language.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Herron. Let's see. Yes, I know her actually. She was a psychologist at Gallaudet, quite brilliant. She's an amazing researcher. I'm just totally amazed and blown away by her work.
She is
So I
awesome.
wanted to give Commissioner Scarborough the opportunity. Go right ahead.
Thank you for recognizing me. I have a question. I was looking through it and maybe I overlooked it. Maybe this is there, but there was a lot there was a lot of information there. Um, there was a meeting a long time ago that where we talked about the need for information regarding interpreting services for deaf folks in nursing home, rehab facilities, and the like. Here in Arizona, it is abysmal. I mean, pity any deaf person who is unable to stay home. So
Yeah, I
we
remember
were
that
told
conversation.
by one commenter, a community member, that their parents were deaf. Their father was in a nursing home, was there for an extended period of time. They contacted 80 different facilities, and all of them refused to accept him as a patient because they did not want to provide interpreting services. And I'm not saying all day, all night, 24/7 interpreting services, just any interpreting services. They were all refusing to accept him as a patient under those conditions. So that means signing deaf senior citizens are completely removed from our medical system, completely left out. And that is a terrifying reality. And I would start encouraging deaf seniors to move out of state if that is what they can expect in their senior age. So I was wondering if that was addressed or came up in your data, and are we still planning to address that issue or that concern? Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Scarborough. Nikki, would you like to comment on that?
Yeah, and absolutely, we are very much concerned about communication access, whether it be sign language or spoken language. It's so important to have that communication access. And the bottom line is quality of life through our entire lives. And so it's definitely an issue, and it's something that we've been talking about, and we will be focusing more of our efforts in that area as we're working with the community to come up with solutions.
Thank you. All right, I think we'll go ahead and close that discussion unless anyone else has any additional input. Commissioner Goodstein?
This is Commissioner Goodstein. The issue that we're currently discussing is rather important and something that I wish we should look at. Um, there is another matter that we might be able to discuss our next meeting that has to do with the forensic audit of ASDB, Arizona School for the Deaf and Blind. Normally, typically, state agencies have an audit that occurs every, say, 6 to 8 years. But as of late, it seems as though they're looking for something. It seems as though they have a hidden agenda to close the school. And so, just from my perspective, I'm a little bit concerned about that. And I would wish that we would discuss that during the next meeting. Perhaps Nikki could provide an update as to how ACDHH could potentially work on that issue as it pertains to the audit. I think the last one was what, 2, 3, 4 years ago, and then they're doing another one. And the forensic, I mean, that's a scary thought, a forensic audit. So just something I wanted to provide as food for thought.
Yes, and thank you, Commissioner Goodstein. Yeah, we're going to transition that to a future agenda item. While that issue is not on the agenda at this time, I will let you know that I am familiar with what has been going on at ASDB and that forensic audit. I am on ASDB board and I'm representing ACDHH on that board. And yes, it is tough. It is definitely tough. It's a hard pill to swallow. And then also, please know that ASCB and the information is available to the public for everyone to review. So I encourage you all to review those ASDB board meetings, show up, say something, support the school. All of the information, all of the budget, all of that is available on the website. So if you'd like to reach out and have a conversation with their board president, you absolutely can request a meeting, but do understand what is happening there. And that is definitely something that we can put on our future agenda as an item. It it's a conversation, definitely, to talk with the board president, making sure they have more of an understanding of that situation, and just find out how you can step in and how you can help. It is a tough situation happening. And I don't want to go there. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole at this point. But yes, let's put that down as a future agenda item to see how we can support ASDB. And also, let's not forget that AZRAD as well. We want them to, let's go ahead and support them as well. All right, I see Commissioner Kidd.
This is Commissioner Kidd. Are we on the part where we add future agenda items?
Correct.
Okay, I've got a couple for us then. I do want to just make mention that I am a little bit concerned about the backlog of interpreter complaints that we have. So if we could add an agenda item on how to best address that backlog. A thought that I'm having is that we should have a separate committee that focuses on complaints. So that way we avoid any sort of conflict of interest on the licensure side. We have the complaints committee that focuses on the complaints specifically. For example, there might be some.
I could jump in. We do. Sorry.
We'll go to our AAG on the
Oh,
phone.
no, that's fine. Go right ahead.
Yeah.
It's good to hear from you.
Yeah. So I just wanted to remind that we did, or that you all did actually expand the role of that interpreter group at the last, that interpreter committee, the last one. It was just set up.
Correct.
The vote was to have that committee start reviewing and doing that whole process. I can go back and look at the exact words, but
Right.
to only start dealing with complaints after a certain date. So this larger full group still has to deal with all of the backlog in the way that they already did. Anything that came in after that date of complaint will go to the new process. What you're asking for has technically happened. It was just that because of the date that was set, that we're still doing just this last leg to complete before that process is able to kick in. We just have to get caught up to that date. So to that effect, there's
Quick question for you,
certainly,
Elise.
yeah,
What date are we talking about?
I don't know off the top of my head. It was at the last meeting, so I'm sure we can get a hold of the minutes.
Yeah, this is Chair Cinco. I do remember it was Commissioner Cohen who made that motion, I believe, to have the interpreter committee, the ILC, go ahead and review those investigations and validate the findings and make recommendations. So we will do that process, but we do have to finish the interpreter backlog first before we move on to that process.
And
Yes,
Sure, we're
exactly.
going to go ahead and let Nikki jump in.
yeah, if I may add something here. We've had discussions internally as well, and we recognize that we have an issue with the backlog and the fact that we need to get caught up on the backlog. Um, the current process or the current idea is that we will finish the entire backlog that everything we received before February 21st that we've started to process. And so we will finish all of those first, and then we will get started with our newer process, where we'll have the same initial steps where our investigator will look things over, make recommendations. That recommendation will then be brought to the interpreter licensure committee, where an in-depth discussion can be had. And then things would be brought to the full board with the ILC's recommendation. So that discussion process can happen more with the ILC. And our chair can communicate the potential backlog, potential special meeting to
Right.
address that, and that'll be addressed in the near future.
Yes, this is Chair Cinco. Yes, I will communicate and work with Kyla on figuring all of that out, seeing if we could have a special meeting to handle that and get that backlog wrapped up. And then we can focus on the current complaints from here on out and also the search as well. Those will be our priorities. Thank you, Commissioner Kidd.
And this is Commissioner Kidd. Well, then that satisfies that first recommendation. The second item I wanted to add to our next agenda is what could ACHH do to improve the process for our young adults who are between the ages of 16 and early 20s who are not attending college but feel like they've got a gap. A lot of them are working at Amazon, but they don't really know their rights. And so I just like to have a discussion on how we can improve their outcomes in life.
Thank you, Commissioner Kidd. Okay, I'd like to turn it over to Commissioner Scarborough.
Thank you. I want to give some input about the interpreter complaint process. I know that we did vote to start January 1st, those complaints, which would be reviewed by that interpreter review committee starting January 1st, rather. And then the commissioners in general would review all of the backlog. However, that was decided based on us not knowing what the backlog is. So in my opinion, I do think that we should have an action item for the next meeting to talk about the possibility of assigning the backlog as well to that committee, the interpreter review, whatever the name of the committee is. And
Before
that's just my question. I'm asking to put that on the agenda.
Okay, thank you. Let's see, our AG is on the phone and would like to make a comment. Go right ahead.
Yeah, sorry. Since I'm on the phone, I'm having trouble figuring out when people are stopping, so I apologize. I've been
It's
jumping in.
fine.
So I just want to, just a reminder for now, just so I put it out there, the decision was to begin any thing that came in after February 21st would be reviewed by the new committee. So we'll be having to, at a special meeting or at regular meetings, be reviewing everything that came in before February 21st. So I want to make sure we have the day out there. It wasn't January 1st, it was February 21st. So everything that came in before that date, just to put the date that was voted on last time, just to put it on the record.
Perfect. Thank you for that clarification. All right, I'm going to go ahead and make a note of that. This is Chair Cinco.
And I have a secondary point. I also think that the topic of access for seniors in medical facilities needs to be addressed formally, apparently. So I would like to also add that, either a discussion topic or I would like to request that the commission begin investigating that particular concern. Thank you.
Great, I will put that down. Commissioner Herron?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So Jennifer, Commissioner Scarborough mentioned that she would like the commission to commission to vote again to add to the backlog, and I wanted to, or add the backlog rather, and I wanted to clarify with the AG, is that something that we can do? Can we do a vote to add the backlog to that, or once we the vote that day, we have to follow through with that? Or can you clarify particulars for me?
I don't have a precise answer on that
Is
one.
a good question.
Yeah.
This is Chair Cinco. Sorry, I don't want to overlap. So yes, that is a good question. And I do want to honor what was already set in place and what was already voted on. But for the sake of curiosity, let's see, we have a question for you, Miss Vaughn, if you wouldn't mind coming on and answering a question for us, Victoria. Perfect. Okay. So I know you had already given us the number, but as far as the backlog goes of complaints, February 21st and beyond, how many are after February 21st?
So I've received 5 complaints. Oh, hold on. Let me double check that.
Sure.
The 5 I received are in 2025. I know I have 5 in 2025, but that February date, let me I have 3 that were received after that February 21st date.
This is Chair Cienko. All right, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it, Victoria. So to answer your question, I think it makes sense to follow through with our original motion As I mentioned to Commissioner Kidd, I'll be working with Kyla to arrange a special board meeting or special board meetings for us to get caught up on the backlog.
Well, now we're talking not about 18, but we're talking about, so she said that there were 3 after February 21st, which means that's probably 3 more after, so it'll be over 20. And it took us, we got through 3 or 4 cases over 2 meetings. That is where my concern comes in. If it is possible for us to take all of the complaints and put them on the committee to get through them more quickly, they would know the ins and outs, they would know that they would have a procedure, they would be able to make recommendations, and then we could go through them quickly, approving those recommendations. I'm not sure if the rules require us to publicize to people that we're changing how we are approving the complaints or the resolution of complaints.
Thank you for sharing that. Let's move to Commissioner Scarborough, and then I have something to add. Commissioner Scarborough?
That is exactly why I asked for that to be placed on the agenda, because we had voted without all of the information. The commissioners, we thought that we could work our way through the backlog of complaints, but it appears that we can't. We have had 2 meetings focused with interpreters on the agenda, interpreter complaints on the agenda, and we've gotten through, I think, 5. And we still have how many left? And I think we've been very focused on the executive director search and the lack of interpreters for seniors, and we have used up all of our time and not been able to dedicate time to it. So I think that some complaints are so old at this point that people might have even forgotten what's going on with those. Maybe people are not even participating in the process before anymore to be able to make comments about the complaints, because whatever happened was a year ago, a year and a half ago. And it's really not fair to those people, to the complainant and the person who had the complaint launched against them. It is not fair that we are postponing it so long because we want to talk in great depth about everything. And it is important that we talk about things in depth. It is important that we need to trust each other as well to do the work that we're here to do, because we have so much work to do. Thank you.
Commissioner Scarborough, you made many excellent points in that comment, so thank you. I do want to remind everyone that our next full board meeting is not until August. I have to agree, though, I don't feel comfortable putting these complaints off any further. So I think that we need to just focus on the complaints and see where we can go from there. Commissioner Herod, I loved your facial expression right there while your camera was on for a brief second. But I do think we need to call for a special board meeting to talk about what to do with all the interpreter complaints. We do need to address this issue. I will have a conversation with Kyla. Again, this topic is not on our agenda, and I don't want to take any more of your time this evening as we're approaching 7 p.m. But I will be working with Kyla to come up with a date and time for us to get together to come up with a practical and efficient solution. Commissioner Herron, were you trying to say something? Your video came on for a sec while your hand was up, and you were making kind of a funny face when you turned your camera on.
No, this trigger finger is just excited tonight. I'm trying to get it to behave itself. I wanted to say yes, I am in total agreement. We should have a special meeting to figure out how to resolve this. I predict that we are not going to finish all 18, not even in this year. So, yes.
Okay. I will again work with
Great.
Kyla and we will figure out some logistics and look at everyone's availability.
Great.
Thank you so much. Unless anyone has something to add as far as the future agenda items, that may be it. Seeing and hearing no responses, I think we will move toward adjournment. If you think of something at a later time, feel free to email Kyla with your agenda item and just say, hey, I would like to add this item to the future board agenda, and she'll get that added for you. I will close discussion on that agenda item and I will entertain a motion to adjourn today's meeting.
I happily move to adjourn this meeting.
I second that. All right. Great job, everyone. Thank you for all that you do. Thank you for being willing to jump in and help out here and there, provide clarification and input. We have a great group of folks here. In the meantime, I will be working on reaching out to ADOA to draft a letter to request Nikki's special assignment to be extended an additional 6 months, and I will work with Kyla to schedule a special board meeting. And I will also be working with Kyla to determine the schedules of the search committee members. I have a pretty busy couple of weeks and months ahead of me. Thank you, everyone, for all that you do, and have a good evening.